What's going on, guys? Today we're going to wrap up the coverage of UFC 228. Spoiler alert, not a lot of decisions, lots of action on that card. We're also going to cover UFC Fight Night coming up this weekend, number 136, Hunt versus Onyek. We're going to touch base on some of the news that's been happening this week around the MMA world, so stick around. But before all that, we're going to briefly mention Extreme Knockout 43 will be happening live here in Dallas at Saturday, September 29th at Gas Monkey Live. Doors open at 5. Main event should start around 7-ish. The undercard is an all-female undercard, guys. So, yeah, it should be very interesting to go and watch. We will be live. We will be watching the action, and we will give you a breakdown before and after all the excitement. So,
check them out at extremeknockout.com, where you can buy all your tickets. You know, you can buy the different ticket packages. They got general admission, ringside, VIP tables. They got VIP stage tables. They got vendor in case you have a business and you want to sit by and sell your stuff. You can do that. If you want to get a piece of swag, they have the Extreme Knockout backpack, which is kind of cool. You know,
hopefully it doesn't knock you out when you put it on.
That would be terrible.
What if you just threw it at people and guaranteed knockouts?
That would be amazing. That's a good self-defense thing. The self-defense backpack. I mean, you got to connect with it like an H-bomb called the H-bomb bag. We need to get in touch with Dan.
Dan Henderson to promote that.
Also check them out at xko.tv. That's where all their highlights and everything else they show. They are streaming it live, I believe, and they have the highlights of past events on there. It's definitely cool. I've checked it out before. It's pretty insane to see some of the stuff they do. Definitely check it out. September 29th, Gas Monkey Live.
They're here.
Welcome to the Hook J Podcast.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
When it's all said and done, I know one thing that I can do. I can fight. I can give it, and I can take it.
You should have left me over on that other game that I'm from, that more ruthless game where we bounce heads off the canvas and drill them into the floor. You should have left me where I was.
The show starts now.
We had an interesting weekend of fights. It started with some drama, ended with some amazing fights, and it's rolling into Fight Night 136, right? But first, let's talk about the previous weekend of fights. UFC 228, Woodley versus Till. So, what'd you think about the whole card, bro?
I thought this was probably the best card they've had in probably the past 2 or 3.
So, I started watching it before you did. So, what's the first fight you watched?
The first fight I watched was the Cody Stamann and the Aljamain Sterling. That was the one I watched live. Everything before that I had to go recap on.
Okay, so I watched from the first women's bantamweight bout between
Irene Aldana and Lucy Pudilova, who
which
put on one spectacular fight.
It was a good fight. I watched, that's when I first started. I got everything hooked up, and I was watching it. It's pretty fun to watch from the very beginning, I think I might have caught it like 30 seconds into it, so technically not the very beginning.
Yeah, these girls beat the hell out of each other.
They were all game the whole time. It was fun.
And I am going to apologize to both of these lovely ladies because last podcast I was like, I don't know anything about them, so I'm not going to watch them.
Well,
now I'm going to watch them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because they've actually made an impact on my memory. So good on you, ladies.
It was great to watch these two girls just beat the hell out of each other for 3 rounds. It went to split decision. Aldana won.
Yeah.
Which was great. I thought it was a pretty good decision. That was fun. The next one, Jim Miller pulled through again.
Jim Miller pulls out of a 4-fight losing streak with a first round submission.
It was a good one too.
Oh yes.
Yeah, he got he came out of the gate just across there and was in the guy's face the whole time. Very aggressive.
He looked like Jim Miller again.
Yeah, he took
And-
flashbacks to like
And then whenever
prime.
you hear his little comment they had at the end when they interview the fighter that wins, you realize that there's a reason he's been losing and there's things going on with it. The dude's been fighting Lyme disease.
Yeah, he has to take like a handful of pills every day.
Did not know that.
Yeah,
I was like, well,
fucking deer.
shut me up.
Yeah, it's deer. The next fight was the vet Diego Sanchez absolutely dominating Craig White. Honestly, I think I'm with everybody here. No one thought this would happen, right?
Yeah, I sure didn't.
Someone lit a fire under Diego's ass.
I think Craig White lit the fire whenever he fucking kissed him.
I'm pretty sure it was because when you could tell the mood changed and everything. He was super pissed walking to the cage, And honestly, if that's the Sanchez that's there, I want to see more of it, If it's the one that appeared the last couple fights where, he got knocked out or he got TKO'd or whatever, and he wasn't really all game, then I don't really want to see it. But if this is the Sanchez that's in the game now, then I want to watch more of it.
Just to point this out, each round is 5 minutes. There's only 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Diego Sanchez had control for 14 minutes and 18 seconds.
I believe wholeheartedly because that was pretty when he got him up against the cage and went down for the single, did a high crotch takedown, picked him up, slammed him,
And he was done.
and it was just all over him from there, which was amazing. It was really good to watch. Honestly, I'm always gonna watch a Sanchez fight if he's doing it, but if he continues to do that, be great. Great to see him go out on top.
So when we started the main card, we had a really good KO just to start off the day with, or the night with.
Yeah.
Darren, the dentist Stewart, KO'd Charles Bird with 2 minutes and 43 seconds on the clock.
Here's the interesting part about that. I thought Charles Bird was winning the fight
So did I.
up to the point of the KO because, if you watch
That
it,
happens a lot, though, to be honest with you.
he was really pegging him and walking around and trying to get out of the way. And because we all knew if Darren Stewart connected, it was over.
Guess what happened?
He connected.
And it was over.
And then we had another one right after that. That was Jeff Neal basically decided to murder this man in the cage with a head kick.
Hands of Steel Neal does it with a kick.
Frank Camacho, I give him all the credit in the world because he was getting his ass handed to him. And
He was straight, man. He
Yo,
was hitting that straight jab.
They were going at it, and Camacho was all game because there was that one point, if you remember, where he tried to Super Saiyan up. He was screaming at him, which was kind of cool. Be like, oh, he's gay. He's ready to do this. But 3-4 seconds later, he hit him with a high kick. Bam, over, done, and it was a brutal one too.
It was interesting to watch Jeff set that up for however many punches he threw just to get Frank to dip a certain way.
Yeah.
And just throw that high kick in. And it's bad enough when you see somebody get completely knocked out by a punch and not a TKO, just an actual knockout, because their body just folds. And Frank Camacho imploded. He just fell right on top of himself. Just boom, 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 done. It was over. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, alrighty. And then the next fight, Aljamain Sterling gets a submission in round 2 over Cody Stamann, with the first of the exact same submission that would be carried out later via knee bar.
It is very rare to see a knee bar in MMA.
To see it twice in one night.
You'd never really see it. I thought it was impressive when he got him on the ground and he put his hooks in and flattened him out.
Yeah.
When he started to do a full Nelson, that was pretty interesting. I was like, maybe he'll get a full Nelson. That's pretty cool. Then they got up and then he got him down again and he did a knee bar, and it was the out of the 2 knee bars that happened, right? This was the more painful one. Out of it, it was a little more complicated to do because he got him from the angle of the knee, got him from the side.
Right.
But it was just interesting to see how it happened, because you can tell the way he had him. He was just like, "Oh, I'll see if I go for it," it wasn't a planned submission,
He saw an opportunity and took it.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these guys, though, deserve a lot of credit because Cody was all over Aljamain.
Oh, yeah.
Aljamain never backed down. And vice versa. When Aljamain pushed forward, Cody was game too. He never backed down. These guys, this was a 50-50 fight. And it happened exactly like I said it was going to happen. If it stayed standing, it was going to go in Cody's favor. Because Cody was lighting him up when they were on the feet. However, Aljamain got him where he wanted him. He put him into a clinch. He put him on the ground.
Yeah.
And he lands the knee bar. There we go.
And then we go to the women's strawweight, which was pretty interesting to watch. This was
out of all the fights on the card, this was the most dominant performance on the entire card. Now there's knockouts, there's TKOs, there's submissions on this card, but this card, you just saw somebody get outclassed so hard.
there's levels to this. So it was Carla Esparza
Yes, Carla Esparza.
versus Tatiana Suarez.
Yes.
And Suarez, going into this, was an Olympic freestyle wrestler, right? And Carla was a wrestler before going into MMA. She was pretty good at it. I don't remember her champions or whatever she won. But there is level to wrestling. And Tatiana showed up so much more higher than Carla and took her down and kept her down the entire fight. I'm looking at the stats right now. Tatiana had 13 minutes and 1 second of control.
Before the fight was called off.
Yeah, before they were like, yeah, over. It ended in what, third round?
Yeah, third round, the ref was like, all right, enough.
Yeah. The most dominant fight on the card. And Tatiana, after that performance, I wouldn't be surprised seeing her in the top 5 of that division or maybe even champ eventually.
Tatiana goes in there with this very, very dominant performance. And, I actually tweeted Tatiana about, hey, you should fight Bullet. You should fight Valentina for the vacant belt.
Yeah.
That would be a really good fight. Two very dominant women in both their fields at the top of the game. Oh, this would be the fight to make. One can only hope. And she liked it. She tweeted it. Hopefully she retweets it.
The interesting part about it is strawweight's the class below where the Bullet would have been fighting this weekend because they had the cancellation, which we'll get to. But I think she's big enough for that, to be in that weight class because, the cut to get down to strawweight, it's more than just the flight. But she's a big girl for strawweight. Her frame's bigger than most of them.
She's young, though. She'll be able to handle the cut and the up and down.
She's a former wrestler.
So she knows the weight cut.
Yeah, she can cut weight like it's no business.
She's only 27.
Oh, yeah, she could definitely do it. No problem.
If we're going to talk about Tatiana for a second, I just want to say I think Rose would just get leveled, man. Tatiana put on a kind of pressure that I don't think anybody's done to Rose, to be honest.
Tatiana is going forward from this part. She's
only going to go to the top.
She is like the new addition to she's the next level of the strawweight division, in my opinion. Because before that, you haven't really had a bunch of like high class wrestlers in there. You had Carla, who I think was probably the most accomplished wrestler in the strawweight division, but we just saw what happened, And going in any MMA, being able to control where the fight takes place, that's what you need. And if she's that dominant going forward in the strawweight division, I don't think anybody's really going to be able to stop her unless they're able just to box her up and keep away or sprawl and brawl. But I'm just excited because it's going to usher in this new class of people at this point.
I think Tatiana represents the new wave of women fighters that are going to start making waves in the sport.
Yeah.
All right, so starting the main card, we had a very quick, very interesting fight with Nico Price and Abdul Al-Hassan. I'll put it this way. It was a round 1 finish, and there was 4 minutes and 16 seconds left on the clock.
43 seconds is the official knockout time.
Yeah. So, Nico Price, just to give you a little background, he is one of the only he's one of 2 people to ever get a knockout while on his back. He's got really good grappling and really good ground control. This was going to be his test on stand-up.
Most famous finish prior to this fight was him.
His most recent one.
Yeah, his most recent one where he was on his back. He kind of trapped the dude with his foot and he just hammer fisted him in the face.
While his shoulders are
while he was pinned down to the mat.
He hammered him in the jaw and right behind the ear and knocked the guy out that was on top of him. Got a KO off his back, which is very impressive. Because before that, there had only been one other person to ever do that. And I think that was an up kick.
Yeah, that was an upcut.
So that was something completely different. But he fights Abdul Al Hassan, who's only one time ever came out of the first round due to decision, and he got lit up. It was one of the most brutal lefts I think I'd seen in a while.
Yeah, it was amazing to see a human body shut off like that.
There was a right before that kind of made Nico drop his guard, but the left that came after that moved his jaw from one side of his face to almost behind him. It just put those lights out, and then the punch afterwards to seal the deal on a collapsing body was just crazy to watch. To Nico's credit, before he hit the ground, he was starting to wake back up, but Abdul, he hit that light switch hard.
Oh yeah, like it was a good stoppage. Like it was one of those things you couldn't argue other than that. Like
I will definitely be watching Al Hassan going forward. I'm really curious to see what will happen if he fights somebody that will actually push him into a later round, or can out wrestle him and get him into places where he's not used to being.
I think if he keeps this up, they're gonna try to build him up. Remember how like Francis, they tried to build Francis because he was destroying people.
Yeah, well, Francis is a different monster.
If they build, they're probably if like say he gets like another knockout or so, they'll be like, oh, he's a knockout machine because he hadn't lost a fight, because of a finish or anything. He's always won because of a KO. So he keeps doing it. They'll probably promote him like Francis and get him built up. And
Side note,
somebody's gonna knock him down.
Side note, Al Hassan's fighting out of Fort Worth, so go Dallas, Fort Worth.
Woo woo.
The next fight happened exactly like I thought it was going to happen.
Go right to decision.
I told you, these guys are not closers. John Dodson and Jimmy Rivera, they're just not closers. Dodson did the one thing that he always does. He gets in, he hits, he gets out.
Yeah.
But Rivera just happened to strike him more, and I think that's all it did was. I think that's the reason Rivera won, is because he outstruck him.
Yeah.
Not by much though.
It was pretty obvious Jimmy won just because he was more active.
Right.
And pegging him and all that. And Johnson did what Johnson does, or Dodson did what Dodson does, and hopped in, hit him once or twice, hop out. But I'm always amazed, especially with these smaller fighters, the bantamweights and below, how fast
they are.
Woo! Dodson, he was a flyweight before moving up, and he was fast then. But I think he gained more speed going up, which was weird. Maybe because he's not as dehydrated or something.
A good example of those hand speeds is not just Dodson and Mighty Mouse, but Cody Garbrandt, who lost. Yeah. His hand speed is ridiculous.
It's amazing.
It's ridiculously fast. Those guys at those weight classes, man, I give so much credit to.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're throwing them knuckles very, very, very fast. I would never want to fight somebody at that weight class ever in my life. Even as a heavyweight professional fighter.
It's like fighting a gnat.
You get hit so many times, man. It may not have the knockout power on it, but man, you're going to feel a bunch of them.
And then we went, after that was the featherweight bout, Zabit versus Brandon Davis.
I'll go ahead and say the name.
No, Zabit, we can call him, everyone knows Zabit. There's not like 3 Zabits in the UFC.
Zabit Magomed Sharipov versus Brandon Davis.
This was the second knee bar of the night, which was cool. As we said at the beginning, the knee bar isn't really a submission you see all the time, and it was pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure he got in the same position as Sterling and was like, I'll see if I'll go for it, and just went for it. And he had the easier knee bar. He grabbed it by the ankle. And
he had a lot prettier looking one, too. Yeah. His was like fully extended. We got to see the whole shot, but prior to that, the striking from both of these guys was really good. It was really on point. It was really accurate. Brandon Davis, as good as Zabit is, Brandon Davis really did impress me by, one, stepping up on a short notice fight against a man who, like, a lot of people don't really want to fight. Yair Rodriguez, who is injured, quote, unquote, backed out his fight. When Yair is a very impressive fighter himself. But Brandon Davis took this fight on short notice and put up a really good first round. Zabit really... He kept him where he wanted him. He is a very dominant fighter, and I think this fight shows a lot from both these guys. One, Zabit did beat Brandon, and Brandon's got a lot to learn and improve upon. Most people could see in this fight that Brandon was game. Like, he's not going to back down from these challengers, and he's going to step up, which I really like. The fact that Brandon Davis did get taken down is where it all came apart for him. If he could have kept it standing, he might have been able to show out or, land that one strike that could have got it Zabit. But today was not Brandon's day, and Zabit landed the second knee bar of the night in full display. Brandon Davis did hold on as long as he could before he tapped, which is very hard.
Did he verbally tap, or did he actually tap?
No, he actually tapped his hand. He was trying
because it looked like his left hand was trapped underneath his arm, so I don't think I saw the tap.
His other hand tapped. But Brandon Davis did hold out for a while because I think he was trying to move one of his hands to figure out if he could alleviate the pressure.
It was very
he just
quick.
Could not get it.
It was he held out for maybe 3-4 seconds.
He held out for at least 7 to 8.
And
7 to 8 before he was like, all right, that's enough.
It was enough for them to actually fall on his back,
Yeah.
But as soon as they were on the ground, it was kind of over.
It was a good fight. Plan on watching both of them going forward. They've already been on my list of guys I'm always going to watch. Co-main event for the night that got bumped up because one fight got pulled.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Was just amazing. Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Jessica Andrade. It ends in the first round via knockout, but it was just a good fight. I hate to see it to happen to Karolina, get knocked out, because I like Karolina. She's a really good, overall, not just a great fighter, but a great person. Like, she's really humble and all that. Jessica Andrade came out with an extreme amount of forward pressure, and she was throwing bombs. For a 115-pound woman, she was laying them out there, man.
From the moment her song hit and she was walking to the cage, you could see this aura of intensity that she had, that she was like, it's my fucking time, I'm here to win. And when she got in the cage and she, the bell rang, she basically sprinted across the cage. I can't remember if they met directly in the middle. Probably not. It was probably a little bit more towards Karolina's side because she was hauling ass. And she had these, I had Wanderlei Silva flashbacks from the hooks she was throwing, because that's all she was throwing are these, powerful hooks, like Amanda Nunes. A lot of these Brazilian fighters, when they get in that intense mode, they tend to throw a lot of hooks, like Silva did in those days. And she hit her a couple times, and credit to Karolina, she kind of moved out of it, but as soon as she was on her again, it was over. She hit her one-punch knockout with a right hook, I believe it was.
Right, yeah.
And she was out before she hit the ground. She was from the connection on down. And I think it's pretty interesting that happened. I didn't realize that Jessica would come out like that. I don't think anybody thought that she'd come out as intense as that was.
I think Andrade figured out Karolina's hole, which Karolina is a ranged fighter. She keeps people at her range. She's very dominant, but if she grabs you in a clinch, which she did show. And when she grabbed Andrade, she was landing some good knees, and she was getting some good strikes in. But Andrade never let the pressure off of her. She never backed out of that pocket. She stayed inside Karolina's range, and she got closer and got her own land. And man, it was one of few knockouts you see in women's MMA outside of Chris Cyborg just blasting somebody.
Yeah.
Or Holly Holmes head kicking Ronda. You don't see a whole lot of those knockouts. Andrade at 115 pounds put Karolina's lights out completely. That right hand connected right on the chin, and it was done. I think it was the first time Karolina got knocked out too, based off her reaction.
I think it was, for sure, or at least it was in professional fights. I think it was. We never know what happens in a gym, but you can definitely tell it was the first time that she had lost like that, especially that viciously. Because if you can watch the fight, the fight's the highlight. It's only a minute or almost 2 minutes. Jessica stepping up like this and I don't remember her being that aggressive in her last couple fights. Maybe I just haven't seen her in a while.
I think her scouting report for her opponents has gotten a lot better, that's for sure.
I think she definitely came in with a better plan, and that aggression was pretty amazing to see someone just switching on from the moment her song hit to when she got in the cage. You're like, yeah, that's a champ. That's a future champ if she keeps that up. The co-main that fight was pushed up to the co-main event. The actual co-main event, the flyweight belt, was taken off the card. Nico Montana versus the Bullet, Valentina Shevchenko was the co-main event, and
That
it
fight
got
got scrapped. The belt is up for grabs right now. I think they're going to put it in one of those coin machines with a claw.
Nico, unfortunately, was rushed to the hospital, from what I know, and she was unable to make the fight. So they stripped her of the belt, which that's a whole another can of worms at that point.
Which we will be getting to later because I want to ask you some questions about this.
Okay.
And your thoughts and opinions. We're going to pick the brain. We're going to pick his brain for a second.
We go to the main event of the evening, Woodley versus Till. This was a really cool card to watch. This was a good capper to the card. It was a good way to end it. I'm pretty sure everybody who, watches the UFC on a regular basis was like, yeah, Woodley's got this in the bag. Everybody who was a casual fan probably thought Till was going to do it because they promoted the hell out of Till.
Till had a lot of fan support.
He was the favorite, which was amazing on the betting wise.
Till had a lot of fan service.
Yeah.
Coming into this, I went and watched it at the bar that I go to, and I was expecting to see a bunch of people in there rooting for T Wood. Till had a lot of support at the bar I was at. There was a lot of people in there. I don't know if it was a UK supported bar, but a lot of people just had their hands up for him every time he would do some forward advancement, which he really didn't get a whole lot of. T Wood, on the other hand, I was all in for. Yes, I know his last 3 fights have been boring. They're not entertaining. Don't go watch them because you're just going to waste 30 minutes of your life. But T Wood showed up. He showed up on this one. I don't know if he had a chip on his shoulder, felt like he had something to prove, or what. Something lit the fire under him, and that right hand was in full force.
Oh, yeah.
And it came out like I thought it was going to. It blew up right on Darren Till's neck, just below his jaw, and put him on the ground. And then after that, it was some of the most vicious ground and pound I've seen in a while outside of Khabib.
Well, see, here's the interesting part. 30 seconds into round 1, I could tell you what Till was trying to do. He's trying to land the left, right? That's his thing. He's going to wait for Tai to throw something. He's going to react, hit him with the left. That was his plan, right? Because he's finished a couple guys with the left before. That's what he was planning on doing. Woodley, you're not going to do that. He had his right hand up in front of his face the whole time, and I can tell you he was just waiting for Till to throw that right or throw that left, and he's going to come in with a right of his own. And when he did, cracked him, Till went down, and I thought it was interesting that Till survived as long as he did on the ground because it was very vicious, right? The ground and pound that Woodley was doing was insane. And I give credit for Till for surviving that long. However, I knew the exact moment when he fucked up was when Till put his head underneath his right or Woodley's right knee. As soon as that happened, I looked over at Dad because I was watching with my dad, and I went, he's going to go for a Darce because it was telegraphed. He had his leg hooked already. He was 2/3 of a way into a Darce, right? And I was like, he's going to go for it. And he didn't do it at first, and maybe 2 or 3 seconds later, boom, hooked it in there. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe, from the angle that I saw it from, it was a little rough, and you can tell he put it a little tighter. I was like, oh, he's going to tap. He's going to tap fairly soon. And he did. But I thought it was pretty interesting that Woodley saw the opportunity that everybody else who knows a little bit about grappling saw it, and went for it. Because he could have very well finished that fight just pounding the hell out of him.
Yeah, which they did some exchanges, and then Tyron did some level changes and got Till up against the cage, which the ref, Dan, should not have broke them up as soon as he did on both of those.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little, I mean, you've already had stellar fights tonight. The crowd's not, unsupportive of what's going on. Woodley wrapped him up, put him up against the cage. Till just held him, which shows that he has a little bit of grappling. Woodley tried to trip him a little bit, but it wasn't working. Ref separates them. They go back at it. He gets him again. He walks him into the cage again. And, Till actually reversed it. being the bigger guy, had a lot more momentum. He swung him around against Cage, and then after a little bit, ref broke him up again because they weren't doing anything, which is like, all right, man, you got to give him a little bit more time to work, buddy. But after that, I think Tyron kind of took a breath. It's like, okay, I'm going to get this guy. And then he explodes with a right that just, it didn't knock Till out. Till's young, he's tough, he's got a granite chin. The right hand lands just below his jawline against his neck, but it's enough to put Till on the ground. And once he goes to the ground, I knew Tyron T-Wood being the better wrestler was going to go down. Oh, man, and it was some of the best stacked elbows and right hands I have seen out of Tyron in a long time. He was stacked up. He pushed down on his head and just let that elbow fall.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Till was eating some big shots. And I really thought that this would have been a TKO and any other. If it had been the co-main event or 2 fights before that, I think the ref would have stopped it. But this being a championship fight, he kind of let it go a little bit. Let him work a little bit more. Till ate some hellacious elbows. And then whenever he tucked his head in, it's like, I'm tired of getting elbowed. We saw the darts. And what's even funnier about this darts, it was slow.
Yeah.
And Tyron just kind of let it happen. He's like, all right, let me move a little bit, move a little bit, move a little bit. Okay, now I got it. And we're going to squeeze the fuck out of it. Tyron's got a lot of power. He squeezed the hell out of that.
Yeah, it was amazing to see it work out like that. And all credit to Dean Thomas, which is Woodley's coach, giving him the black belt when he came in there. That's one of those things that Dean Thomas is a UFC vet of himself. He was on The Ultimate Fighter with Matt Serra, and
Long time.
you can tell since he's them working together, because it's been a couple fights since they started working together. I think maybe his whole UFC career,
Right.
Tyron's been fighting with him. But even strike, you could tell the difference of it, and he's just gradually getting better as he's going along, and it proved it that he even has a submission game, which I think that was his first submission finish in the UFC.
In the UFC, yeah.
Before that, it was Strikeforce. So it was interesting to see how. I didn't think he would get him a submission. I thought for sure he'd finish him. I didn't think it'd be a submission going into it.
Well, it was a finish. It was just not the finish we thought it was.
Yeah,
gonna be.
I thought it was gonna be like a TKO or
Right.
haul out like straight KO.
So that's going to wrap up the exciting UFC 228 because, wow, there was just like maybe 3 decisions on that.
Yeah,
That
something
was
like
a
that.
really good card. They haven't had a night like that in a while. It's a good night when you watch a lot of promos and a lot of ads on TV because there's so much downtime in between the fights.
Yep. Now we're gonna talk about the Moscow card, UFC Fight Night 136. It's the first time they're ever in Russia, which is pretty interesting. The fact that they got permission and everything to go to Russia, because I don't know how.
I think it's good for them. It's like whenever they finally got permission to go to Brazil too.
Yeah.
It was just started being a hotbed of jiu-jitsu was coming out of there with full force.
Well,
It's like, hey, let's put a card out there.
Their UFC's branching out, and it's kind of nice to see them, do stuff that's not in like the middle of Wyoming, which was weird. But it's in Moscow for the first time. The headliner is Mark Hunt versus, honestly,
Olniuk.
I'm pretty sure the average amount of vowels in these names are like 7 per person. It's a lot of like Russian people on this card because it's in Moscow. They went and they picked the pick of the litter there. But
Well, in order to promote this card, they took a lot of local talent that isn't actually in the UFC, brought them in for this card to get the local support, and hopefully going forward, next time they go to Russia, next time they go to Moscow, we'll have a more diverse card instead of almost everybody having half the alphabet in their name.
see, we have 7, like on the UFC's official website, they have 7 people on there without a photo, right? So I'm not sure if this means it's the first time in the UFC, but most of these guys I haven't heard of. And it's good that they did that. They brought these local talents in. We honestly don't know much about most of the people on this card. There's a few people that I know of. Desmond Green, I know him. I think he might be from down here.
This is the part where Jacob's going to get extremely American and only name off the people that are from America.
Thiago Alves, a Brazilian, who everybody kind of knows him from UFC. He was really big for a while.
Okay. Well, this guy right here, Marab Delvashilvi, I don't say that name. Well, I've actually seen him fight. He was the one that was like kicking his legs a lot when he was getting choked to try to show that he was still in it.
Yeah.
That's him.
Well, he's on the Fight Pass prelim.
Yeah.
Look at it. This is amazing. There's only 4 cards actually, or 4 fights on the main card, which is the only one you can watch on Fox.
So the UFC Fight Pass early prelims,
1, 2,
if
3,
this
4, 5.
isn't wrong, there's 8 fights. 8 fights on the early
On the
fight.
prelim.
Right. And the main card itself is only 4 fights, which is probably going to be the only one I'm able to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find some. If there's any highlights, and we'll have the highlights.
I'm hoping a lot happens for this card. I'm hoping a lot happens in this card, though, because Russia is going to be, if Khabib's any kind of proof, if Zabit's any kind of proof, that is a hotbed for wrestling. And that would be a good place for them to really start recruiting talent to take out some of these top dominant strikers or put these strikers in positions where they're not used to being.
Well, the interesting part about MMA is there's like waves in it, where like the beginning it was all about like jiu-jitsu and ground game, and then you had people come in that knew a little bit more about striking, and then now it's kind of going back to a good mix of it. But now, as you're seeing towards like the champions, a lot of them are wrestlers. A lot of them are getting back to that ground game, that controlling different positions. And if that is the case, if you're going to Russia and picking these people out, people who grew up freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, doing Sambo, all these different things that are just controlling people's bodies and forcing them to the ground, it's going to be pretty interesting to see what you come up with, you know?
I think this is a good avenue for the UFC to take going to Moscow, because not just that, the revenue, it's a new environment, it's a new place where people get to show off their talent. We get to pull people from to watch. It increases the card, it increases the fights that could happen, and we get to see just a big roster potential. So the first fight on that main card is Alexei Konchenko versus Thiago Alves. Thiago Alves is a veteran of the sport. He's been around a long time. He's racked up 27-12, whereas Alexei, it's going to be his first fight in the UFC, is sitting at 18-0. He's undefeated coming into this, so this should be a decent fight if Alexei holds true to what he's been doing.
The next fight is between 2 Russian dudes.
Give it your best shot, Jacob.
Number 12, Andrei Arlovsky versus number 14, Shimona Sarasara.
Say it again.
Shimona Arberdubrimov.
Say it one more time.
Number 14. It's kind of like when you go to drive-through and you don't know how to say the things, so you just put number 14.
I got a 14 with ketchup and pickles.
How do you say his name?
I believe this is Shamil Abdurakhimov. I'm not sure if I've got that right, but
yeah, it's going to be interesting. Andre, he won his last bout. I remember
he actually won that last one, which was impressive too.
It was a good change, if I remember right. Change of pace. He actually didn't just go out there and try to throw as much.
No, he lost against Tai Tuivasa, who is very impressive.
Who did he win before? Stefan Struve.
Yeah, whenever he beat Stefan Struve, he looked really good, though. That was earlier this year. Dang, he's fighting 3 times this year.
It was really impressive in his last 2 wins, Junior Albini and Stefan Struve.
Right.
He actually showed up, and it looked like he had more of a game plan than his previous. I think he lost like 5 before that. So he was on a little bit of a losing streak going into that. He beats Junior, beats Stefan, and you could tell when he went to the Junior fight, he actually had a plan going into it. He listened more to his coaches. He didn't just go out there and try to see what was happening and roll the dice. He lost against Tai
Tuivasa,
the shoey guy, as I call him on Twitter.
He is hilarious.
He's pretty funny.
Yeah, Tai Tuivasa is funny.
But it's interesting to see where he's going to go from here. Arlovsky's a former champ. Now he's kind of on his road back. and he's a little older, a little wiser. And then I don't know about the other guy. Do you know anything about him?
Nope.
Not one thing.
I have no clue who this guy is.
As we said, we are rolling.
Shamil Abdurakhimov.
We are rolling the dice on a lot of these people here. Freshman record is 18-4. I mean, he's doing fairly well. It's gonna be interesting to see how this. I can't tell you about fighting styles or anything because I don't know him.
This will be the fight that hopefully he makes a statement, and I remember how to say his name once the announcer says it, and Buffer throws it out there.
I don't know if Buffer's doing it.
Oh yeah, this is Russia. Yeah. May not be Buffer.
It's a Fight Night card. Buffer doesn't get a dress for a Fight Night card.
Yeah. The second to last fight is Nikita Krylov.
Say it with a Russian accent.
Nikita Krylyov.
There you go.
Versus Jan Blachowicz.
Say it with a Polish accent.
Versus Jan Blachowicz. Jan I've actually seen fight. Jan's a really good fighter. He's very sturdy too. God, this guy takes some shots sometimes. Jan just recently beat Jimmy Manuwa.
Did he?
Yeah, and Jimmy Manuwa's a good fighter. Yeah, that was in March. Jan, though, he's on a 3-fight win streak, so this could be his run for the belt if this is going the way it is.
He's number 4.
Or at least for a good challenge.
Yeah, this might be his, like...
Once DZ steps up.
This might be his, like, coming to the mainstream party, you know? Like, this might be his hey, I'm actually, I'm worth watching.
Nikita Krylyov?
Yeah.
Is coming in off a loss. Prior to that, though, he had 3 wins in a row, but he hasn't fought since December of 2016. So he's had some time off, most likely due to injury. I didn't look at it yet, but he looks like a submission powerhouse. But there's not really much to talk about on that one, guys. We really haven't seen enough from half the guys on this list, so we're just kind of mulling through these.
The main event out of the 4 fights on the main card, the Super Samoan Mark Hunt versus
Alexei Olniak, the boa constrictor.
So I'm going to go ahead and call this right now. The boa constrictor, being the fact that his name is the boa constrictor, he has a fairly decent ground game, right? Like, I don't think they would just give that name out to a guy who can just throw bones and leave the cage,
Right.
So I'm pretty sure his whole plan is to take the Damian Maia, T. Wood, George St. Pierre thing, take you down and ground and pound you or submit you. So looking at that, or what I think might happen, Mark Hunt's probably going to have a bad day, but it's Mark Hunt. You can't count the guy out.
Mark Hunt is one of the best heavyweights to have ever done this fight game of any type.
His record is 13-12, but it's always been like he'll win 2, he'll lose like 1 or 2, then he'll win a couple more,
and then he'll
lose a couple more. But most of his losses were by decision. He did get knocked out by Verdum. At one point, he kneed the hell out of him. That was that, and a couple. I think one or two more times in the UFC he's been knocked out. But the KOs that Mark Hunt does.
Mark Hunt has the most walk-off knockouts I've ever seen.
The fact that he knows when he hits you that it's over. Like when he hit Frank Mir, right? The last time they fought, he hit Frank Mir with a right, and as soon as he touched him, he just looked back and was like, whatever. He
done.
had this.
He's done.
All right, yeah, he's over. Like, I'm gonna walk back home now.
He did it to Struve too. He broke Struve's jaw.
Oh yeah, he beat the hell out of Struve.
Yeah, the Struve was not ready for that. When he fought Lesnar, yeah, he lost to Brock, but
that's against a former NCAA champ that
yeah, but we're also talking about what's even funnier.
Outweighed him,
What's even funnier about that though is Brock got hit one time by Hunt, just square, and was like, nope, none of that. And then he was like, nah, I'm gonna have to wrestle the hell out of him.
Yep.
he took to the wrestling, man. It's like, nope, I don't want to get hit by that dude again. It was funny because as soon as Brock got hit, he was out. It was like, oh shoot, nope, no sir.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how his career has gone from K1 to where it is now, and I've always been a big fan of him. I think the first fight I saw him was Silva. It was Wanderlei Silva.
Wanderlei Silva.
And that was in Pride, and that was the tournament. He dethroned a guy who was the champ for like 5 years or something like that. He was the first Pride champ, and he dethroned him, which was pretty amazing at that time to see, especially in the spectacular fashion, which went to decision. It was pretty cool to watch the fight. That was Fight Night 136. I keep forgetting the number. 136.
Yeah, that was the wrap up for UFC Fight Night on Fox 136, happening in Russia.
The 4-man main event. That's the tagline for it.
Yeah,
that's what the tagline should have been.
Let's give UFC some credit on this. This is their first venture over there, and they're just testing the water.
First of all, UFC does not know at all how to promote. All right, they 228.
Here's Jacob's promotion.
On 228, they promoted The Predator, the new movie, The Predator. Right? You not only have a heavyweight whose nickname is The Predator, right?
Who's actually shown up with a mask on.
The Predator, right? You didn't promote him. You have a fighter on the next fight card, a fight night, whose nickname is The Predator. I'm pretty sure they're not going to promote it like that either. What the hell, UFC? Like, this is a good idea. You should have had Nagano out there talking about, oh yeah, I was doing it.
So here's something I was thinking about, like while you were complaining about all this.
Okay.
What if it's because Francis is English? It just isn't up to par yet enough to cut a promo like that. To where he's not a hype man. Have you listened to him after the Stipe fight? He's very slow and controlled with his talking because he's new to English.
He's getting better at it. He still has the African French accent, which is a weird combo. Because he was African and then he went over to France and he's now over here. But if that's the route and you can't speak like that, you can still dress him up, give him the mask like he did in promotions before or whatever, and have him hold it and just put the Predator there, and then you have the new Predator from the thing because they have the big super guy on there. Have him come in, and then you do the face off. You do the face to face like they're doing a fight. It
would have been perfect, but we don't live in Jacob's perfect promotion world.
I'm just saying, I could bring in a ton of people for the UFC. I know Dana White listens to this podcast, right? Like
yeah.
He is super on about this podcast.
I wonder if Dana has like a whole division of people who just listens to all the MMA podcasts. He's like, yeah, why don't you listen to these guys?
100%. He has like UFC money, so he has people that know exactly when his name is spoken.
If you haven't heard, September 29th here in Dallas, we have Extreme Knockout 43 happening at Gas Monkey Live. Doors open at 5. Main event starts at 7.
That ruined the rhyming scheme.
Going to be an all-female undercard happening here in DFW.
Get your tickets at extremeknockout.com. You can buy all your tickets online there. They got plenty of packages, general admission, ringside, VIP tables, VIP stage tables. If you're a business and you like to promote, you can buy vendor tables there too, so you can sit there and hawk all your swag and tell people to, come to my lawn care company. I want to come mow your lawn. If you're like, I really want to show my Extreme Knockout pride, you can buy an Extreme Knockout 43 backpack on their website. It's pretty cool. If you're like, I can't make it to the show, I can't buy tickets. I can't do it. Well, let me tell you something. XKO.TV has got you covered. All right, they're going to stream the event. They got all the highlights from past events. You don't have to go home on September 29th and not watch the thing. You have no excuse not to watch this. Check it out, extremeknockout.com or XKO.TV for all your needs.
Check us out on Twitter, guys, at either Hooked Justin, that's me personally, or Hooked JP for Hooked J Productions.
That's me.
Yay!
That's the other guy on the spot. There's two of us.
Links will be below for Extreme Knockout and XKO TV. So check those out, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Play the outro.
Thank you for listening to the Hook J Podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next episode.
Sometimes you've got to do what's right for you and not do what's right for everybody else.